Hey there, by the time this video is uploaded, the LSDJAM 2025 is well on its way. And before it ends, I wanted to take a quick look at some of the submissions of 2024. I spent about 30 minutes to an hour on each of them just to get a good idea on what each is about. This means I might not have discovered everything on the games I tried. So if you're interested in the games I covered today or other LSDJAM games, I recommend you try them out yourself. I'll be covering 3 submissions in this video, and the first one up is Light Engine. Once I click begin, it spawned me in a location called the light socket. The main visual focus in this area is what I believe to be a light socket in the middle of the map. The music here provides a soothing ambiance. I instantly got stuck and had to restart. After making my way down the tree, I met with a metallic object known as the janitor. Hello there. That's you. Can you do me a favor? I can't believe left the sunroof open during the rainstorm decades. And the light engine data sheet was polished flat. Thus the wrinkles of reality are slowly fading. I ask you but one thing. Go forth through the war and etch its marking into the data sheet. Review the word to it, and the word shall spring forth from the light machine anew. Alright, sure. After saying I'll help it out, they gave me this collector symbiote, which updated my UI to have some kind of inventory or some kind of UI to track items. Tasked with now saving this reality, I jumped down a hole that led me to Lapin Blanc. This area seems to have a building that houses a bar in it. In this bar, I found a vinyl record that I wasn't able to find where it goes throughout this session. After talking with the creature, I was given a beer, and I also got a tip that there was a strange creature in the bathroom. So naturally, I went to the bathroom and saw that there was a hand sticking out on the top of a bathroom stall. Oh good, another face to add to the collage of idiots passing through here. What do you think gives you the right to intrude on my personal business like this? The cavity here is mine. I found it first, long before any of you light chaser morons. Ugh, I need a drink. After figuring out how to access the items in my inventory, give it the beer that I gulped down. And with that, it let me squeeze into the stall and flush myself into the cavity, which led me to the watering hole. This area seems to act like a hub connecting different locations together. For this teaser, I was only able to find 3 locations connected to this hub, but there may be more. On the location on the left, it was apartment 315. There wasn't much to this apartment. There's a lot of objects here, untextured perhaps, but it was just a regular apartment where I found a pack of cigarettes. And then I also found this room with a bunch of chairs that I was able to go inside. But other than that, there was really nothing else to this apartment. And so I move on back into the watering hole and onward to the second location, which is the middle location. It took me to a location called Communications Cathedral, and it gave me a jetpack. With the jetpack, I went ahead and tried to explore the area a bit. It seems that this area is populated with a bunch of big buildings, skyscrapers or apartment buildings, and it was quite a undertaking to explore any of them. This is so vast and big, almost like a mega structure, but not really. It's not on to that size yet. I wasn't able to find much in this area either, similar with the apartment. It's just that the gap between each object to search in is such a big area. It's hard to know that if I miss anything or not. But one of the things that when you have a jetpack, you have to fly all the way up into the atmosphere. And I was just wondering to see if anything would happen if I went all the way up there. Other than getting a cool view, I wasn't able to find anything cool going all the way up into the atmosphere. And it was pretty difficult to continue searching in this area because it was also pretty dark as well as being vast. So after a while, I gave up and started moving to the third area, which was called Eyesore Cathedral. In this area, it just seems to be a looping bridge that you can walk across. It's a very mechanical location. Everything seems to be made of metals and pipes, or at least that's what the texture seems to imply. I kept walking straight for a while and it just seems to be looping and looping, so I couldn't really find anything else. In this small section, I tried to interact with the sides, not even try to jump down the hole just to see if it takes me to a new location. Since at the beginning the title of the location was Watch Your Step, I thought it might have been a hint on how to progress. But no luck. It just took me back when I jumped in. So now I have a pack of cigarettes and record vinyl and I couldn't find anywhere to use it. I'm pretty sure they're in this demo for a reason and there's definitely a place that you can use it. It just wasn't so clear to me. This is pretty much where I ended my session of Light Engine. I know there's probably a lot I missed, but I couldn't figure it out and there wasn't really any guides on on this teaser that I could find. And so I was kind of stuck and had to move on. The next submission that I looked at was Clockwork Dreams. And once I begin this game, it has its own narrator.
You drift off. Darkness envelops you and lowers you into a new world. A world, though in motion, time stands still. Welcome to the Chronoverse.
So here we are in the Chronoverse. And this game has a bunch of portals that take you to different areas. The first one I went into took me to this kind of museum or marketplace. And I couldn't understand the NPCs here. There was like advertisement on the walls. And I found an area that made it look like a shopping mall. But I couldn't interact with the NPC. And there was like a hot air balloon in the middle as well. So that was interesting. Then I interacted with this purple glitch texture. And then I got stuck and had to restart by pressing R. After that, I went back in and then went downward towards the new area. I saw some of the glitch textures again, but this time there's a hole that I could drop down. Once falling down here, I came to a very interesting area. Filled with many polygons and many simple shapes. representing trees and stuff like that. It really reminds me of like a Yume area, especially with the background seeming like it has an incoherent organic organism or image there. I saw a cyclone on one of the structures and interacted with it, which took me to this cave area, which has some interesting lighting, especially the fireplace. After I went ahead and look into this area, I found some pipes that I could walk over, and I interacted with this NPC, which doesn't really provide much useful information. And as I explore further inside here, I found some fluorescent grass and some fluorescent mushrooms. The area was really peaceful, especially with the music setting the ambiance. The mushroom was kind of pretty as well. And then I found a portal and walked through it and made my way to a different area with mushrooms. One with less ambience, less music, but it was raining. Moving out that cavern, I found myself in a moonlit sky and a place with forests and strange statues and structures. After exploring a bit, I found a portal that was black and white. And going through it took me into a interesting area. Sceneries and landscape all floating out of space. There was something that was following me, I think, and it was making some strange sounds. I could see it in the corner of my eye. I'm not entirely sure what it is. When I try to look straight at it, it seems to just teleport to just right out of my peripheral, making it hard to see it. After going through a building and going out, it seems that that thing that was making the sounds is still attached to me. Not only that, the music here seems to be a lot of sounds as well, and I was becoming overwhelmed, but the scenery is really amazing as well. You can see solar systems and galaxies and the sun and in the background. But I decided to just drop down, which take me into kind of this crossroads where you can walk on multiple pathways to reach a different area of the map. Walking to this one, I found something that was burning. It's like something on a stake. Teleport me to an island that seems to have a village. After exploring a bit, I found a strange NPC that has an accent. And also found that they were doing some kind of ritual with a crystal. Or at least gathering around crystal. Not sure what this was all about, but it was interesting to find nonetheless. Afterwards, find a strange statue, which led me to somewhere else. Somewhere with a receptionist that wouldn't speak to me. after exploring somewhere else, I found myself in an area with a bunch of aquariums. Which is kind of nice to look at. Much of the fish looks realistic except for this one. And after interacting with that strange fish, I came down to some sort of base under the ocean. I saw a whale outside of the base and spoke to some NPCs that told me that there's some kind of plant that generates oxygen. Exploring some more, I found the same fish that took me here sleeping in a capsule and a duck, which teleported me to a grassland with windmills and flowers. Now this area also had a clock tower in the distance, which I tried to get to. However, while trying to get there, I was met with an invisible wall, so I couldn't really get to that clock tower, which was a little disappointing. But I pivoted my goal to get into that house on top of that hill. On the way, I found a little NPC here that's just sitting on a giant chair, or a giant to it. And I also found this window, which I couldn't really interact with. I also found this herd of sheep that looked more plastic than realistic, and a mannequin that's just relaxing on a tree. Perhaps the owners of the sheep. Now, I also found right below the hill where the house was on, there was some delightful music and surrounded by some pretty red flowers. As I tried to make myself go up to the house, I was met with the same invisible wall, so I wasn't able to reach the house in its entirety. Although I gave it a couple tries, I gave up soon after. Then I had to change my goals and go somewhere else. I decided to go to the red forest. The red forest that was to the left of the house. On my way there, I saw a long red tree with some kind of interesting orb there. Interacting with the orb seemed to teleport me to different locations. I just teleported myself into the forest with red trees. After exploring a bit here, I found a random hole that I could drop in. And so I decided to drop it here, and it took me to a strange area with some blue mushroom and green mushroom, which took me into somewhere that was just extremely purple. However, this area was familiar since it looked like the cavern with the campfires throughout for lighting. I think this is just a glitch somehow that made things all purple, making it a little bit difficult to navigate. But I was able to find my way to a portal, which took me to this chest war, and there were strange humanoid structures as well throughout. There's this one big head that seems to be rolling up or vomiting in a pool, perhaps water. And there are these structures here that reminds me of a cityscape, although I wasn't able to find much in here. and going the other way was led me to a bunch of dolls that were twirling in circles and dancing around each other. There was also this picture of this businessman around this place as well, and a giant creature that was staring down at them. Needless to say, it was a little unsettling, so I made my way out of there. Afterwards, I continued walking and I found a path that split up to many different pathways. One of the paths led to the humanoid creature that was staring on those dancing dolls. And coming here gave you a sense of scale of how big that creature was compared to me. Afterwards, I went upward and I found this tub pool where a bunch of people were hanging around as well. Perhaps about bathhouse. Then I found my way up into kind of a roof area that I saw a strange tower. So I made my way to that tower. As I was in the roof, I could see kind of the cityscape and other places I've been to. That tower it was kind of it was basically a rook piece, but beyond that there was a dead tree covered in shade, which took me to a strange gray maze. In this maze, I hear the sound of someone drawing, I think. It's a little unsettling, but I found a portal quickly. It led me to the same chest area, but with different textures for the scenery, the walls and the floor. Everything else seems to be the same though. But I reset it to try to find a new area. And then I found this area where it's kind of a vaporwave like city that had pizza in it. So I had to check that out because there was digital palm trees and also some error message that blocking my way. I found a message that I could click travel on, so I tried to click travel and it took me to, I guess, the city. There was some restaurant that I was taking a look at and some other stores as well. There wasn't much place open for me to explore, but I found a pizza shop that was open that held this room that had a bunch of pizza, two of which were glitched out. A bunch of pepperoni pizzas. I wasn't able to eat any of them, so I left the store. Then I found what appears to be entrance to a subway, and this machine blew up in my face, which gave me a little fright. I made down to the subway platform and went into one of the dark tunnels, and it took me back to this crossroad. In this crossroad, I tried to go to a new area with a portal here, and it just took me back. So I made my way back to that city and I went to one of the last stores on the corner here, and I took the elevators up to Garden. And it took me to an area that had really funky music. Then I found a rubber duck that took me back to the grasslands. So I decided to try to find something new in here. And what I found was basically another rubber duck, a bigger one, and I dug on the ground, which once I interacted with started to flood the area. Took me back to the space under sea, and I decided to explore a different area here. A floaty that took me to a pools area, which let me swim in a pool that had a galaxy in the pool. And once I interacted with it, it put me back to a different area in the Vaporwave City. Making my way through here, I had to do some platforming. I also saw some cool things like a boat here and other miscellaneous digital items. Once I finished the platforming section, it took me to part of the city where there's a parking lot, some NPCs, and also just seems to be a bunch of rooms that are occupied with different NPCs. In one of the NPC room, there was a hole that I could drop down to, which led me to a house with some unsettling music. The color scheme here kind of reminds me of the back room. And in this area, I found a disco ball that once interacted with took me back to a area that we've been to before, but in a different way. It has a really chaotic texturing here. I decided to climb one of the structure, and then up top there was a portal which led me to this sky-looking temple. Interacting with NPC here, which is kind of like a skeleton, but it's known as the life spirit. I need to acknowledge that I've come a long way and that everything is temporary. I'm not sure what that means, but I took a boat with wings. It took me to an entirely different area, which I saw a big colorful ball, which took me to a low poly world with some low poly trees. In this world, I found that there are some ground planes that are hidden until you look at a certain angle. And on top of one of them, it took me to this cool area that I could see the top, so I could see where I would move to next just by looking up and looking around. This was a really cool area, and I made my way to the cabin, that green cabin. Once I was there, I entered the cabin, which took me to an interesting location with colorful cows and I believe UFO there. But if you ignore those elements. It seems to be a really nice scenery with some snow. And I just got curious on the water, wondering if I could swim or will I drown. So once I go into the water here, it took me back to the base under the sea. Since I was back here in the base, I decided to go back into the pools area just to see if I could find anything else. And it seems to be connected with the receptionist area, with the aquarium area as well. So going back to the pool, I went ahead and go into this portal that I noticed in a different room of the pool room, and it took me back to the plains with the moonlit sky that is also raining. There wasn't much else I could find here. I saw the white and black portal again, but I decided not to go into it this time and opted to try to find a new area. I found other interesting structures like this small roof area with some chemicals in the computer, but ultimately I couldn't interact with anything. I decided to go elsewhere. Finally, I was able to find a area with a bunch of pillars and a hole I could drop down to, which led me to a dungeon-like area where these cultists are seemingly trapping different creatures from around different areas. And after exploring this area for a bit, I made my way to a corner at a dead end where I found Scrib-dev that gave me a little background on this map and the inspiration for the map. It's cool to find the self-insert character of the dev in the game and get a little behind the scenes knowledge of the making of the game as well. It also made me wonder if there's other dev characters that are scattered around different worlds as well that I hadn't found. After a little bit more exploring, I found another hole I could drop to into a colorful kind of liquid or texture. It took me back to that polygon war. This time I was able to find a plane that took me to a new area with a bunch of new blue platforms. And there are these orbs that when I pick up, it seems to change the sense of gravity that my character experienced, which led me to kind of platform to different areas by changing my gravity. I wasn't really sure where I was supposed to be going here, and I kind of got lost. But ultimately, I did find an area I could go into this portal, and it took me back to the chest area with the strange texture. So I decided to reset and try to find a new area. Going through a portal from the beginning hub, I found this cool area with some temples and some other structures. However, it seems to be short-lived as I didn't notice something was coming up to me until it was too late and I couldn't have outrun it. Once it interacted with me, it took me to this maze with oozing black ink that is moving across the walls. There was a small humming from the background music, which gave it a little bit more of a tense experience. At this point, I wasn't sure if anything is chasing me, and I kind of want to get out of the area as quick as possible because I really don't want to see if anything shows up if I stay too long. Fortunately, I was able to find my way out And it took me back to the beginning again. And then I went back to the Vaporwave city, and I got to a new area with a strange TV. And going into that TV, I got into this cool circuit board area and found a new area within it, kind of a glitchy area where houses are all glitched out and everything. Even the NPC acknowledged that it's glitchy. So I found these cool cassette tapes that are stacking on each other, and I decided to jump on them. And I found an NPC that when I interacted with, took me back to the city. I did a little bit of exploring and then went back to the store that had the elevator that I used to go up the garden. Now I used the elevator to go down to the labs, which took me to, I believe, the mall place again. But I quickly found a place that I could drop from, and it took me to what I believe is the Polygon War, but just a different area, perhaps, or perhaps it's a entirely new area. I explored the interesting object that I could go inside of, but there wasn't much in there. So then I went out, and then I see in the corner of my eye that there's this concert playing. So I went ahead and made my way there. I saw a bunch of NPCs dancing, I guess. And then I see the DJ as well, which there's an invisible wall that makes me unable to reach them. But it was a cool area nonetheless. Afterwards, I found another portal. I went into it and it took me back to the garden area. However, this time I decided to went a different direction. And it took me basically to this glitch path through the sea. After a bit of exploring, I got myself into a part of the area that also has an outdoor area and some kind of glitch in the area, just a black pit, which took me back to the Polygon War. And so at this point, I kind of felt like I explored a good portion of the world as in this game already. I know there's definitely a lot more that I could have found, but this was probably the time for me to end my session for this game. The next game is Aggie's Art Station, and before I boot up the game, I want to read the description of it first. Originally scheduled for release in 2000, Aggie's Digital Gallery is an educational video game designed to teach children about art history. It was developed by Really Big Entertainment and published by NRC Games. Devised as a spin-off of the art creation game Aggie's Art Studio, Aggie's Digital Gallery promised players the ability to share their creation online with other young artists. Aggie's Digital Gallery was cancelled several months before its release date. However, in 1999, an unknown number of promotional copies were sent out as part of a contest tied to Aggie's Art Studio. Our team was able to acquire one of these promotional copies and port it to modern operating systems. In the interest of archival preservation, none of the original content has been modified. So I am new to itch.io and was not really sure if the website was also used for archival purposes. Also, I was a little confused on why it would be submitted to the LSDJAM 2024 if it was just for archival purposes. So I wanted to get more information on Really Big Entertainment and NRC Games. So I did a couple of searches and did not really see anything come up, which led me to believe that the description is just the premise of the game made with fictional companies. Even the NRC could stand for Not Real Company, but I am also completely open to be wrong and that they may be completely real companies. I didn't really research it that deeply. The main thing is that I want to include this description because it really sets the tone for what the game is and the ending as well. So, with that, let's start our journey with Aggie's digital art gallery. When you press start, it spawns you in a room with double doors that you can walk through. That takes you to another room that has a banner that says grand opening. In the middle of the room, I believe is Aggie. When speaking to them, they said that there are a total of 4 painting or centerpieces that are missing from the grand opening of this gallery, and we are tasked to find them. It's sometimes kind of buggy when I speak to NPCs. After speaking to them, I have to click escape to open up the menu and then click resume so that the mouse will lock back on so I can move. After exploring a little bit of this kind of empty gallery for now, I found a door that can't be opened yet. And I also found the first centerpiece. I'm going up some stairs at the back. After giving this centerpiece back, which is a painting, Aggie said that I can now go into the paintings by interacting with it, and that should lead me to other paintings. So I went to the room that has the new painting and interact with it. It led me to a vaporwave-like location. And speaking with some NPCs still caused the issue of the mouse being not locked in again. There's also this strange humanoid blue person that I spoke to. I was saying a lot of things, but I wasn't really understanding what I was saying. But for some reason, the word that stood out to me was, "There is only here." Afterwards, I went ahead and talked to some other NPCs. But the main one seems to be a dog-like creature that gives me some pop quizzes. First question was a CRT? And then the second question is, what action can't be undone with an undo button? And the last question was, what is your computer saying when it makes those funny noise? Now I tried a couple options that didn't work out, and it did say that if I need help to ask my parents, and that my dad was behind that tree over there. So that blue humanoid seemed to have been my dad, or some representation of my dad. And the word that stood out to me was, "There is only here," which was the answer to that question. After answering all 3 questions right, platform protrude off from the floor that allow me to jump to these undo signs. Now, these platforms were kind of difficult to get on a platform and jump on. So a lot of times I fell down, which became a bit frustrating after a couple of failures. but I was eventually able to reach the undo button. And the first one took me to this strange location. It seems like I was under the sea or something. And there was this strange NPC as well, quite detailed. I was not sure what they were saying, so I kind of ignored their words and kept going. I just kept walking up this structure of sand, perhaps. I met another cool looking NPC that I also did not understand what they were saying, so I continue on, moving upwards. Which led me to find this strange bunny creature thing, which I ignored and found a house on top of here where we have a human NPC that made me their roommate and complained about a lot of things that I do or am, but became a bit possessive over me. After opening a door, I got back to the gallery. So here, I was a little confused on where the other painting I was supposed to find was. So I went back there and jump on the other side that leads to a different undo button. And after a couple of attempts, I reached the undo button, which took me to a nice place with flowers and a museum. When inside, I see that there is a bunch of paintings that were boarded up or seemingly about boards. I talked to the NPC and they told me that this was the old museum. And that they stayed here because of nostalgia and that the funny tubes as well. So I walked up the tubes, spoke with some NPCs, collect some collectibles, and at the end of it, I still couldn't find a painting. So I was a little confused, and then it took a while, but I finally found a painting back at the dog-like creature that gave me the pop quiz to begin it with. So I guess the issue was that I turned around to look for the platformer before I saw the painting spawn right in front of the dog creature here. But once I got this painting, I went back to Aggie's and provided them the painting. This made it so that a new painting appeared and that some NPC from that vaporwave area seems to have now become residents in this museum. So we got the dog creature and then we have this NPC which had headphones on them here. After talking with them a little bit, I went into the new painting, which took me to an area that seems like the moon or a series of white sand. I saw the astronaut and that seemed to be like the place that I was supposed to go for progression. So I decided to explore somewhere else and saw a house and went inside, which took me into a different area with streets and houses, like a suburban area. Oh, I saw this gigantic spider-like creature with an eye. And then after spoken with it, it shows me the true horrors that exist in reality. Things like HOA and my microcredit being reduced, and saying my mortgage rate would never go below 16.3%. True horrors. And this is why I'm, to this day, afraid of horror games. So after being traumatized by that mechanical spider, I went and took a look around. There seems to be some street lights, which make the area look kind of lively, a little bit pretty as well. I talked to some NPCs and it seems like they wish they had access to the telenet. But after a while, I went ahead and saw a couple houses, and there was an astronaut just outside this house. And that they feel something evil inside the house. Well, naturally, I went inside the house and found the third centerpiece. And there were some sounds in the house that were quite eerie. And when I tried to open the door, it says that I did not want to. So I just left it at that and left the area. So it seems that in my attempt to explore other areas and not go to the intended path, I somehow went to the intended path right away and got the centerpiece. And when I talked to the astronaut back with the undo button, it seems like they are talking like they already knew me, which means that most likely I should have talked to the astronaut first before coming here. After coming back and talking to astronaut in the moon, they said they just want to stay here instead of going to the gallery. And then I pushed them a little bit, just tell them to don't give up, but told me a sad story that everyone they knew were gone. And then they start glaring at me now and don't want to talk to me anymore. So after failing that human interaction, I went and saw an undo button up in the tower, and I clicked on the undo button, which took me to a fun place with flower, very colorful, like almost like a fairy tale book. After exploring just a little bit, how a neat little area that seems to be kind of like a house. After going inside of it, it took me back to the gallery. So since I'm already back here, I went into the gallery and gave the third centerpiece back to Aggie. And then they said that the last one's in that locked door that we could go in the beginning, and that there might be a maintenance guy down there. It was super knowledgeable. Talk to. So I went to the locked door and opened it and make my way to the last centerpiece. Going through this tunnel here, which kind of seems like one of those ventilation shafts. I found the maintenance guy poking out a hole, talking about something about a safe space. I wasn't really too sure. I think it pointed to a secret area in the game, but at the end, I couldn't find the secret area. I just talked to it a bit more and then left it at that. Going to the final hallway, there was a bunch of artwork on the walls, presumably from the artwork from Aggie's art studio that was mentioned in the description. This is where people share their artwork. There was a bunch of fun ones, a little bit creepy ones as well. And at the end of the hallway, there was the final centerpiece. Walking back, I expected something creepy to happen, but nothing really happened, except for once I got back to the gallery, all the NPCs were gone. I wasn't sure what happened to all the NPCs. Eventually, I figured out that there was a big painting now at the back with all the NPCs on it. And there was another painting that I could interact with, which provided a special message. Something is written in marker on the plaque of the new painting. Hello curator, this is Aggie. I hope you find this message alright. Everyone wanted to let you know that they're sorry they didn't get a chance to say goodbye, myself included. We had to leave right away. It's not your fault though. You're a really good special kid, and I know you're going to be a great adult. I won't be able to see you when it happens, but I know you'll be great. I know you'll have difficulties in the future, but I hope that we help prepare you a little bit. There are some things I want you to know since I'll be gone when you read this. I don't know what order to put them in, but please pay attention because it's important. I will always be proud of you. You are the one who has made my life most beautiful. I would do it all again just to hear your laugh and look at your paintings and see you grow. You don't know how mean this world is yet, but you will. You will cry and scream someday, but I'll be in the telenet watching, and I will always be cheering you on. Don't ever feel like you're not important or that you deserve unhappiness. Because even if you can't see me, I'll be out there in the telenet telling everyone that you're the greatest. I'll miss you more than you can understand, and I hope you miss me too, but I also hope it doesn't hurt too much, too often. The computer is starting to talk now. It's saying those funny things. I have to go now. Don't worry, dear. You do great. I love you. Goodbye. And with that, that's the end of Aggie's digital art gallery. So it was a short experience. There were many bugs and some frustrating platforming at some points, but I felt a lot of heart in it, especially with that last message. Overall, I really enjoyed my time with Aggie's digital art gallery, and I enjoyed my time with the other two games as well, Light Engine, Clockwork Dreams. And with that, that will be the end of the video. I had a lot of fun with these 2024 LSDJAM games, and really looking forward to the 2025 version of the jam and all the submissions there. But for now, if you liked the video, please leave the like. If you want to see more, please subscribe and ring the notification bell. And if you have some time, maybe perhaps watch some of the other contents that I created. Thank you so much for watching. See you.